I wasn't born to become a gladiator. I was sold, and every sunrise meant I was one day closer to death. They didn't ask my name. To them, I was an investment, one that had to survive long enough to entertain Rome. My first sword wasn't made to kill. It was made to teach me how much pain I could endure. Every mistake earned a beating. Every lesson was written into my body with bruises. We were fed not because they cared about us, but because healthy fighters earned more money. The veterans didn't teach us how to win. They taught us how to survive one more day. Each man fought differently, but every path led to the same arena. Sometimes I stared into my helmet, trying to remember the face I had before slavery. Every night I listened to the crowd cheering, wondering whose final battle they were celebrating. When they called my name, I finally understood. Today, Rome would decide whether I deserved to live. With every step toward the arena, the sound of Rome grew louder. I had seen the Colosseum from a distance, but standing beneath it made me feel smaller than I had ever felt. Above us, Rome waited for entertainment. Beneath their feet, an entire hidden world prepared the spectacle. The arena looked like chaos from above, but underneath, everything moved like a machine. They dressed me carefully, not for protection alone, but because Rome expected a proper show. The moment I lowered that helmet, Thomas disappeared. Rome would see only a gladiator. I had imagined the crowd 1,000 times. Nothing prepared me for the sound. The old fighter leaned toward me and whispered, "Don't fight the crowd. Fight the man." Then the gates opened, and the whole world became sand, sunlight, and noise. Across the sand stood a man I had never met, and Rome expected one of us to fall. He wasn't my enemy. He was another prisoner trying to survive. The first blow erased every lesson, leaving only instinct. Training taught me where to move. Fear taught me how fast. For one terrifying second, I thought my first fight had already become my last. I didn't rise because I was brave. I rose because dying wasn't a choice I was ready to make. For a moment, we simply stared at each other, two men trapped inside someone else's game. Then I remembered his words. Survive the man. Ignore the crowd. I finally had the chance to end it, and suddenly I remembered. He wanted to live too. Winning the fight wasn't enough. Another man would decide whether my opponent left the arena alive. Rome had come to watch someone die. That afternoon, both of us walked away. The crowd called it victory. To me, it simply meant I was allowed to breathe one more day. Only when the helmet came off did I realize how badly my hands were shaking. A few minutes earlier, Rome wanted us to be enemies. Down here, we were prisoners again. My fight was over, but the arena was already preparing someone else's. Behind me stood the arena I had survived. Ahead of me stood the prison I still belonged to. No celebration, no speeches. Among gladiators, coming back alive was enough. I survived the arena. But that night, the arena followed me into my dreams. The next morning, they handed me another sword,
because surviving once only earned me the chance to fight again.
Fear never disappeared. I simply learned how to move while carrying it. I had entered the Colosseum as a terrified slave. But Rome wasn't finished with me yet.
Months passed. I became stronger, faster, and more valuable to the men who owned me.
The more fights I survived, the less they saw a slave, and the more they saw a gladiator.
Better armor wasn't a reward. It was an investment in my next performance.
The first time I entered this arena, nobody knew me. Now, Rome was waiting for me. Thousands shouted my name. Yet not one of them could give me back my freedom.
I no longer fought like a frightened prisoner. I fought like a man who understood exactly how much survival cost.
Victory had once meant defeating another man. Now, it meant refusing to forget that he was human. They called me victorious, but a victorious slave was still a slave.
For every fighter the crowd remembered, there were many more whose names disappeared beneath the sand. Every victory made Rome love me more, and made me wonder whether freedom was moving closer or further away. Then the old fighter told me something dangerous. Survive long enough, and Rome might finally let you go. From that day forward, every strike had a purpose. I wasn't training for glory, I was training for freedom. The arena no longer frightened me the way it once had, and that frightened me even more.
This time, I wasn't fighting merely to survive the day. I was fighting for the chance to own tomorrow. Every lesson, every scar, every night of fear had brought me to this moment. I could hear Rome demanding an ending, but I had already decided what kind of man I wanted to remain. Then I saw the wooden sword, the rudis. After years of fighting with steel, freedom arrived, carved from wood. For the first time since I was sold, my life belonged to me again.
I entered the arena as property. I left it as a man. But thousands of others would never walk through those gates again. Freedom felt strange at first. No guard behind me, no gate ahead of me, no one deciding where I could go. Rome would remember the games. I would remember the men who entered those gates beside me. My chains were gone, but behind those walls, another man's story was just beginning. History remembers gladiators as warriors, but many of us were prisoners first, fighting not for glory, but for another sunrise. The Colosseum still stands nearly 2,000 years later. We remember its emperors, its architecture, and